it and take it away. That has been a staple and a very common theme throughout all the drafts. So let's see if we have some adjustments here. Tricked is starting off with a first ban, of course, and let's see, do they take away Greymane, do they take away Rhaegar, or do they just ignore the two of them?
So far, it's been Oriel and Dahaka's advance for Trick Esports. Both of them pretty decent on this battleground. The 3-man that you can set up to push in for a turret is always great with Oriel in it. But then again, there's always the threat of Dahaka.
I would not ban out Greymane or Rhaegar, I have to say. I would not do it just simply because if you do that, you allow different great first picks on the side of your opponent. But they ban Rhaegar, they actually do it. I would be worried about it because now you open up a potential Oriel start on the side of the good guys. Good guys can now start to ban anything. Let's say you ban Genji here, then you leave Uther and also Oriel still open. So Tricked would probably react with an Uther pick since that's what they have been prioritizing, and then you have Oriel on the side of the good guys. If they pick Oriel, you still have Uther. You can go into another double support. So while I like that Tricked is obviously thinking about what's happening here and trying to throw a bit of a wrench into the plan of the good guys, I would give the good guys at least so much credit to say this is not the only start into a draft that they have. They have more than that. So that's my only concern here.
Well, Team Good Guys now thinking pretty longingly on what they want to ban on themselves. They decided to go ahead and ban out the Tassadar. So Trick Esport on the right side, do you move straight into the Uther or do you grab the Oriel?
That's basically the main question here, and they go with that again. So I would expect Oriel to be taken by the good guys now. And this is really the moment where if I was them, I would probably try and fall back on my old draft style and simply go into my Lunara and Illidan draft. If Trick bans out Illidan, you go for Malthael. If they ban out Lunara, you go for Vala. That's what they have done in the first part of Phase 2, and that adjustment, I think, would probably work well for them here. Especially since Tricked has so far shown a tendency to ban Garrosh on the second position, so I don't think they would threaten that draft too much.
Team Good Guys thinking about what they move into. I mean, if you don't go for support, is there a world where Greymane Dahaka is worth picking up for your 1 and 2?
No.
Not even.
I would not risk it. There are enough good supports that you can still play. But if you go for Greymane and Dahaka right now, you would allow Trick Esports to play any kind of hyper carry with a Oriel combo and ban out an additional support, which forces you into...
Ooh!
Wow!
They go for the double G! Greymane Garrosh!
Huh. That's interesting. Greymane, I would have said Greymane with a... I really would like Trick to exploit that.
Tricked can move into a double support, but think about it maybe from what Team Good Guys is thinking. If you have Garrosh and you're able to get your picks, why does double support matter if you're able to get a combo and pull somebody behind and throw them behind you? And you get to that 5v4, because you can get the picks anyways.
Yeah, but who can you throw? It's going to be the tank at the front line unless your opponent has massive positioning problems and allows you to just simply walk straight up into them. So if you throw the tank, the only thing you have to do is you draft a tank that is able to either walk out, jump out, has some kind of mobility, or can be healed by the supports that you have. But overall, with what we are having now, you allow them to get Uther Genji, they have Dahaka for the side soak. I would have preferred to go into them exploiting the weakness and supports. I still like what they're doing now. They have the synergy with Maka being on one of his best heroes, if not by, I would actually argue his best hero. You have Dahaka for side soak. I like what they do here. I'm not sure if it was really needed to go for Garrosh as such an early pick, because we have seen the old comp relied on the front line on Stitches, and I would argue that with the draft and how it has unfolded so far, you're guaranteed to either get Garrosh or Stitches. And that would have, in my book, been okay for Good Guys. But they must really prioritize Garrosh at this point. I mean, that is incredible value that they put on them.
Yeah, I'm reserving judgment for the moment, simply because I want to see Garrosh actually be played in HGC and see what's going to be happening here. I think if they get to tributes first before their opponents, they get that spot where they can throw who they want to, or force their opponent not to come in and fight over the tributes, because of the strength that Garrosh can have around those areas.
Yeah. So now also a little bit of a change when it comes to bans, going for a ban on Brightwing here. First of all, global mobility. Second of all, because he's strong against Genji. And also because on the side of the good guys, we so far have as one of the main damage dealer, we have Greymane. And if you are thinking about Oriole just overall, and usually in double support comps on top of that as well, Greymane is really a bad battery.
Yeah, he's like decent, but he's not going to be giving you out the heals that you want from the Lunaras or the Valas. Like, in comparison to what is available, Greymane is definitely a second, maybe third tier choice when it comes to Oriole.
I mean, you can still draft her and then add another battery, but it starts to make the draft a little bit awkward with the options that you have. So the early Greymane definitely limits the good guys a little bit in what they can do here. And we have Stukov now taken, okay.
What does Stukov? I actually like this. So now you have the possibility to go in for a Garrosh pull, and you can hit a tank and pull them into the fight, and Stukov can drop down the Slapperoni, pop away the opposing team, don't allow them to come in, and you can focus on the tank and kill them.
Screw the slap.
Yeah.
After we've seen
the shove
as the at the Eastern Clash, I like that way more.
Okay, well the shove, regardless.
Not only the Eastern Clash.
Yeah.
NA actually played that at the Western Clash. I really like the way that they were playing it. So if you get a good one off, you have a 5 versus 4 for most of the fight. I think that's fantastic.
I like it. So now Team Good Guys can get any engage they want. They have the lockdown. They have a decent frontliner with Arthas. They can keep people away that comes in for the engage with Stukov. Team Good Guys looking good. They'll have to get their support later on, but for now it's in the ball is in the court for Trick Esport. 4th and 5th pick need to come in.
I'm also curious about the last pick on the side of the Good Guys.
I mean, it's healer. No, maybe not. Stukov can be good by himself.
Yeah, that's exactly my question. Most of the time I've seen Stukov so far, it was in a duo heal position, but we've seen a little bit more of a tendency to try and make Stukov also work as a solo healer. And they have a heavy front line with quite a little bit of self-sustain as well, so they could make that work. They're playing against, by the way, the Gul'dan that was so far banned out in basically every single game. Also, what I think is really cool to note is that ETC is being banned out on the side of the Good Guys. And if you paid attention to the earlier video where the pros talked a bit about their thought process on Garrosh, they basically all of them mentioned that ETC, for example, can be extremely good against Garrosh. Any kind of displacement is really solid here. So ETC banned out. And Abathur taken. Yeah. That's a really cool, it's a really cool pick. Actually, it's a bit surprising that Abathur wasn't even banned, because oftentimes on this map in particular, Abathur is one of the high priority bans for the teams. Now you have him, first of all, you have 3 fantastic hat targets for Abathur, and you have good copy targets too on Arthas and on Greymane. So Abathur is a really solid spot here in the last one.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, you can even argue 4 good targets. I mean, we've seen Abathur in the past when you go for a spike build and drop it on top of a Johanna, it'd be effective. Garrosh in a similar way is that strong because of the trait coming in and making him very resistant. But yeah, Team Good Guys, they got a draft here.
Yeah, I like it. I like the draft actually a lot. The one thing I'm a bit concerned about is the poke that could come out of Gul'dan here.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that worries me a bit just looking at it from a theory perspective. It depends on how they approach this, if they can get the drop on Gul'dan, if they can get the good engagement here. But overall, their draft is solid. I was questioning a lot at the start how they began with the draft, with the high priority that they all of a sudden put on Garrosh, but the end result is actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, especially with the Trick Esports as being the go-to for Gul'dan compositions when you want to watch those, because they pull it off so well. Garrosh get in a position where if he maybe misses out on his Q, or Horrify comes out, you can turn around and put some pressure on him. Trick Esports, I know we're gushing over what is available for Team Good Guys, but Trick Esports looking great too. Let's go ahead and go into game number 4 here. As Trick is ahead 2-1 over their opponents, can they end the series, or will Team Good Guys tie it up and push us into a game number 5?
Game number 4 starting up as we have the lead for Tricked Esports, and to the left it is TGG with Antihero on Arthas, Kronos on Stukov, Rapos on Abathur, we have Xay on Greymane, and BKB is playing for the first time in HGC, Garrosh.
On the right side, in the red, Tricked Esports, Nape on Uther, Crosby on Gul'dan, Alex Aproji on Dahaka, Rimmer on Anubarak, and Make back on Genji.
I'm really hyped for this one. I really want to see how this is going to work out for them right now. So, especially for the Good Guys. They had a great fight on Infernal Shrines. I really liked the way that they showed all that aggression. Now against Tricked, of course, they are trying to force a 5th map. Tricked won the last time against the Good Guys with a 3-0. They can still make this a 3-1 if they can coordinate that. And I feel like a lot hinges again on our 2 damage dealers here, on Gul'dan and, of course, also on Mako and his Genji.
So let's go ahead and talk about Garrosh here, as this is the first time that we've seen him in the HGC for Europe. He was played in Korea a little bit, but one of the things that people have been picking up for level 1, been seeing a lot of Warbreaker. Finishing off that quest is quite a nuisance when you do finish it off. The pulling of 15 heroes reduces the cooldown of Groundbreaker by 3 seconds in total, which is pivotal in fights. You want to be able to handle your opponent and get to spots where you can drop down and throw them behind your team. So getting that cooldown reduction is such a great pickup, so you're going to be seeing that a lot. Level 4, a little bit of a switch up on pickups. You see a lot of people moving into maybe the wave clear at 4, but the 7, my favorite one, where you get to the ability to throw a teammate. It's actually also great because it's a cleanse too. If you have a root that hits on your teammate or a bone prison, you actually break them out of it and are getting them to a spot where they're in a safety spot.
For me, this hero overall in the plays that we've seen with him is just one of the most interesting ones. It changes the entire way how especially the tank versus tank battle works. And we've seen a lot of teams talk about the weaknesses that they feel, especially with positioning and also with the mobility that he has. But he's annoying as hell. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah.
But overall, there's definitely a lot of cool plays that we could see here. I just love that we are having that draft right now on the side of good guys being so melee heavy. It forces you to really commit in fights and later on. And I think a lot of this comes down to how well BKB can play with Garrosh. And seeing him for the first time in HGC is just super exciting.
Yeah, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on him. See how that pays off. For now, our team's been doing pretty well in their lane. Strict Esports is trying to put pressure on that top side. Was defended pretty well by Team Good Guys, and now it's all about the Mercs that do spawn at 2 minutes. Team Good Guys has made a play for their Giants on the left side, with Kronaz actually on the top left watchtower, defending against both Uther and Genji, and he is able, with that big old arm, to keep them away.
Yeah, and talking about that, I'm hyped for the 10. Flail is great, but I think that shove is so much fun when you see a team that can coordinate well around it. I would still expect Flail here in this case, but a good shove is just amazing. I also want to say that when we are talking about Garrosh, we have a very stable build right now for most of these teams. Seeing Warbreaker as a level 1 talent is extremely common, and I haven't really seen any pro scrims yet that did not go for the quest talent on level 1. On level 4 there's usually a little bit more diversity, but on the side of BKB the thirst for battle is definitely a huge priority. We talked about Garrosh sometimes even taking the off-lane position, and that's normally when we're even having in for the kill as an example, since you just have a bit more wave clear available and you are able to hold that solo lane easier. That's oftentimes the case when we have these double commitments to tanks, but it's also very map dependent. So just in general, on the level 4, a little bit more flexibility depending on the spot that Garrosh is being played in.
Yeah, allows him to also help in the team fights there, working on that Bloodthirst, able to get the healing when he gets low. Which again, that Bloodthirst is actually percent-based. So when you get low on health, you get more healing back. So being able to work in those auto attacks and continue to get that ability up is very effective.
There we go.
Here is where Garrosh can be quite a pain. Throwing him over the turrets over the left side. Alex Aproji, wisely though, turns around and just burrows out of the fight.
He didn't only burrow out in the fight, did you see where he burrowed into? He burrowed straight into a toxic nest. So, I mean, he got away, so that's the good part, but it must just feel so annoying. First you get thrown over the wall, you burrow out, you're trying to escape, and you burrow straight into a toxic nest. Thankfully for them, the Tribute also spawned at the bot lane, or the Haka would have had a big problem arriving for the fight in time.
Well, Team Good Guys on the cusp of level 7 here and come in and harass around this Tribute, trying to buy time for their Avatar. They also grab the Mercenary camps in the middle, so that'll be pushing in. Combo comes out, BKB goes in for the ability to throw his opponent, but does not get close enough, and now they will be punished as BKB and crew are engaged upon.
Nice, that was perfect engagement on the side of Tricked Esports. Absolutely fantastic by Remaballer, moving in, cutting the path of retreat off, getting the stun in, and then we saw immediately Maka capitalizing on the situation with a quick kill and of course the reset. So the Tribute goes over to Tricked, and that was exactly what they need to do. This was, from an engagement perspective, that couldn't have been any better.
And Team Good Guys now with the level 7 coming in, picking up into the fray, that level 7 talent we were talking about.
Oh, there are other talents on 7 for him?
You're so funny, Galdor.
Seriously, have you ever seen a different level 7 talent?
I did on day 1, but not since then. Into the fray, pretty darn impressive, man. Able to throw a teammate, give them armor, a partial cleanse because you're able to break them out of stun and roots. It's just too much utility to pass up on.
Yeah, exactly. Outside of quick match, I don't think I've seen this in other level 7 talent. So Into the Fray is pretty much what this is all about. The utility is fantastic. It's not only about engagements, but even that is already annoying. Think about how many times in the past we told you about strong tanks, about strong heroes, and their only weakness is, well, they don't really have an engage, they can't chase. Problem solved.
Exactly.
Into the Fray, zip, and you're in the backline.
BKB might be in a problem himself, though, as being locked on the right side. Does get the pull. He is low on health, but the armor coming on, plus 45, is just enough to keep him alive, and they are able to kill Genji.
Yeah, they take Genji out. Stukov is really helping with this. And that combo alone is starting to be really annoying. You pull someone in, you drop the silence on them, and the Howling Blast comes into play too. For me, one of the problems that I still have with this is just simply Gul'dan. He's, for me personally, with all of this, a big game changer. Since a good Horrify and also just simply that poke from a distance is going to be one of the big issues that the good guys somehow have to deal with.
Tricked Esports, while we've been talking about Garrosh and what he brings to the field, they've been soaking pretty well. They've got 10 before their opponents. Team Good Guys is right behind, but still at 10 does hit. We have Cocoon Horrify already picked up, and Make being chased down by BKB, already down to half health. Alex Aprochi with the big flank, though, comes on in.
They're going straight for the attempt on drop another target here. The Tong already connecting, and here comes that Horrify that we've been talking about. And as already predicted, it's the big issue that the good guys have here. Double kill as Make aims for 3, gets it. Antihero tries to at least get a counter kill, and they might be able to drop Genji. Indeed they are, but it's still a worthy trade for Tricked Esports as they drop 4 for 1.
All that started with Alex Aprochi coming in and getting that big drag on top of Stukov, taking out the healer. Genji falling up at a quarter health, by the way, trusting Uther to drop down the Divine Shield at the right point. And Make and crew able to clean up the entire field, and now they get the reward of the curse.
So, Curse already on point, and yeah, it's all about the Horrifies here. This is really, again, what broke this. After the good drag that you mentioned from the Haka, the Horrify follow-up was fantastic, and Genji just got his kills. Now, of course, with level 10, we have also the Warlord's Challenge on the side of Garrosh, which can, in these close quarter fights, be a huge game changer. But so far, that just really wasn't the case for them yet, but it could definitely happen later on. The game by far not being over, but the value that Tricked is now getting out of this Curse is pretty incredible since they led with the kills. And, ooh, Abath at the bot lane. Found out by Genji, and Make committed to it. Dove deep and took the kill against the Slugger.
Curse helping out there, didn't have to worry about the fort at all, and is able to get the kill. Kronaz does bring out the flailing swipe there, helping out with the knockback from Cocoon immediately afterwards. Rimmer gets pulled in and taunted, though, and we have the save here. The fear into the standing man pose into the keep as BKB is forced to walk away thanks to Gul'dan.
Yeah, BKB throwing Stukov back. I got you, bro!
You're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
Throws him back. You're fine, don't worry about it. I got your back. But yeah, a good kill here against Rimmerballer. And if you look at the experience, they're not too far behind. And they actually try and use that small timing window that they have to go for a boss. Tricked is very likely to reply in kind up at the top. So the two teams are just simply exchanging bosses now. But the good guys definitely have a lot of potential here. We've been talking about this earlier. If they get a good fight, ideally even the drop on Gul'dan, then that would be the dream here.
Let's see if they can get that dream to ever come to fruition, as Tricked Esports in the top right are working on their boss at the same time, so we will have a boss-on-boss action here. The fear for Team Good Guys to come back and defend on the top left side is they'll have to watch out for the keep because their fort has already fallen. So this should favor Tricked Esports if they're able to get that boss straight to that keep wall.
Yep.
Yep. Good talk.
The Blood Craze now for Garrosh. I mean, we're focusing, of course, a little bit more on Garrosh's talents at this point. Blood Craze has been taken on 13, so you have additional heal at additional 10% of his maximum health pool for 3 seconds when you hit with Bloodthirst. It's a pretty fantastic talent to just keep yourself alive a little bit faster. We've been a little bit longer. We've been talking earlier about how much they actually have in terms of self-sustain. And talking sustain, oh my god, the Haka! The Divine Shield wasn't even needed there, but they dropped it. Anti-hero now taken out, delivering a reset to Make. But Dehaka focused. I mean, ideally they would drop another target here, but it was so close to him dying, and Alex barely got away, got his own ult off as well. Divine Shield being dropped just to make sure that he wouldn't fall here. But overall, Tricked, again, showing off their teamfight coordination.
Yeah, Team Good Guys even had a pretty solid engage into a flailing swipe on the back line, but Dehaka just barely making it on through, the heals coming on in, and Tricked Esports was able to get that kill because of their team fight coordination.
It was actually pretty, like, I mean, the thought process behind the comp is pretty cool. You just simply use Garrosh to put someone out of position, and then you move in with Stukov, and you simply attempt to push everybody away with a flailing arm. So that it's a bit similar to what we've seen with Stitch's compositions, where you are trying to get a hook, and then with Gorge Gust, for example, you isolate the target, or with a Cocoon and Gust, or anything else in that area. The thought process is very similar. The problem for them really is the targets that they are hitting so far with it are quite limited. Since Garrosh doesn't have the same range on his source than you have with a hook, you can only focus onto the front line, and the only two targets you have here are Dehaka and Anubarak, which both have either an escape or at least a sustain. And especially when we're talking about Dehaka hitting level 16, then we should see him with a much easier time now to get away, since he of course can now use the tunneling claws.
And it feels like Team Good Guys actually has to do this combo near a fort or a keep, because they don't quite have the full burst to burn somebody down if it's not a squishy target like the Garrosh or the Genji. Even the Genji can even get out of the fight. You have the Greymane who has a Cursed Bullet into a great up follow-up, but we saw what happened last time when they hit Dehaka. Adaptation coming in, being able to use the heals that were popping out. Team Good Guys, cool little idea here, but you can see why a Stitches might be a little bit more safer. It has more range, whereas Team Good Guys are hoping to get it near forts and, of course, keeps to get those kills.
Yeah, so this is the one thing that, yeah, why I said earlier that I would love them to jump back a little bit into that old school draft that we had on that part. But this is definitely still a very cool style that they're showing here, and it's the first time that we also tinker around Garrosh a little bit. Now with the Earthshaker taken as a level 16 talent, extremely popular as well. I mean, that extra stun is very reminiscent of what you have with Muradin when he gets his level 16 and goes for the toss, but over here now, so with Earthshaker, the same thought process, you try to get that extra stun in, and especially if you catapult someone forward, that can really help out as well. Already we're seeing Cocoon being used, and the re-engage is an awkward position for the Good Guys, and Make with the Divine Shield, here comes the Fear, and it isolates the copy.
Drag will also hit on the copy, so will be destroyed. Auntie on the side is able to get a massive flank after a big silence too here from Stukov. They're able to get on the back line. Crosby's still alive though, while Alex Proji and Make are just clearing up everything Team Good Guys has on their side.
Yeah, that silence was absolutely on point. That was a money silence right there. But still, the end result of the fight is 4 dead heroes for the Good Guys, and Trick only lost 1. It was a bit problematic that they just spread out so much. Antti was chasing Anubarak away, but all that Anub did was simply cocoon him and then dive past him back into the fight. So even after the fight was over, thanks to Arthur still being in the cocoon and trying to walk away, he was so far away from the rest of the team that they had to make the choice of either sacrificing him or attempting to fight. And since there was a curse on the board, they needed to make sure that they are taking the fight here. So now they are cursed for the second time. It's 11 kills against 4. And TGG just doesn't find the answer. They can't take Trick down, it seems.
And Trick Esport now will have a chance here to move towards a keep and start to open up the map even more against Team Good Guys. Team Good Guys, man, I'm worried about it. I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out what is their win condition. How do they start getting a comeback? And they need to fight before level 20, but they still have a 30-second curse they have to deal with, and they have to deal with the boss that's being grabbed by Trick Esport, because they are setting up for a potential move to straight up win the game.
Yeah, also the top keep. They're sacrificing the top keep right now. They're moving to the top. They even have Abathur showing on the map. That was a misclick, and he needs to be careful. But now there's the Horrify, and goodbye, Krona. Wow. So with Stukov dead, this should be game unless a miracle happens. Raid Boss with a copy, trying to do what he can. Keeps himself alive a bit longer, but now that he is also dropped out of the clone, we are seeing everyone focusing on Anti-Hero. He attempts to take Market down, but there's just no way. It's an easy double kill. The keep at the top lane, as I said, they were sacrificing it. The curse was still active. The camp was pushing in with another wave. And now Tricks can go for the boss at the top, push for core, use the level 20 advantage, and should be able to finish this out.
Well, they should be able to finish it, but they still have to pull it off here. Stukov's up in 12 seconds, so is Arthas. 2-level disadvantage, Team Good Guys. Let's see what you got, man. You need to pull off a miracle here to defend this push coming in from Tricked.
They need to win the team fight now. They have... It's a 15-minute boss, so if you win the team fight fast, you can definitely still defend your core.
Can't win it fast, though, if you lose your orc. Garrosh, dead here as BKB oversteps.
Yeah, that's just game. I mean, that's just simply game. There's already the second kill. Greymane is down. Trick played extremely well here. I really like what they did from the get-go. The first kill that we saw against Garrosh was great engage, and ever since then, they had perfect coordination in the fight. They always drew them very thin, and like, I was just well coordinated. There's nothing else to say. Great coordination, trusting each other. The Divine Shield on Genji whenever they needed it. And this is an easy finish to the game as Tricked Esports takes down the Good Guys.
Tricked Esports with the first victory of Week 6 here in Europe here over Team Good Guys. Huge congratulations to them. And besides from getting number 2, it seems that they're just a little bit more outclassed here of Team Good Guys. Just being in a really good position, always getting the fights they want to move in for. And they as a unit have really just came together.
Yeah. So in the last game here in particular,